I'm Bill Lepp. Welcome to my office. People have been saying, Bill, you need to do a story and put it online. Well, I don't have any really good new material that I can just rattle off for you. I don't want to do something you've heard 1,000 times before, so I'm going to read you a story that I wrote, and I don't believe I've ever performed it out loud. So, here we go. This story is called No Parking Between November 1st and March 31st. I landed in Salt Lake City and I rented a car so that I could head over to Vernal, Utah. Now, when you rent a car, they give you a piece of paper on it, and that piece of paper has a diagram of the car. And this diagram is sort of it's kind of a cubist representation of the car. It kind of looks like you're looking at it from above, and someone has taken off all the panels and all the doors and laid them out around the car, or like a giant weight has been dropped from a great height and squished the car flat. So you walk around the car with this piece of paper, and you mark where all the dents and dings and scratches are, so that when you return the car rental company can see what damage you perpetrated on the car and what was there before you left off. You hand a representative from the car rental company this piece of paper, and then they give you a carbon copy of that so that you cannot later add, little dings and dents that you may have caused to happen to the car before you return it. Following that, I got in the car. I'm touching my face, but that's okay because I just washed my hands like 17 times. I have washed my hands more in the last 3 weeks than I did in 2019. Following that, I got in the car and I headed toward Vernal, Utah. I drove through Heber City, and as I ascended into the mountains, I put a Gamble Rogers CD into the CD player. Now, I never had the pleasure of seeing Gamble live, but his stories and songs are legend, and you got nothing better to do after you watch this video. You should, look up Gamble Rogers on the interweb there. So I put the Gamble Rogers CD in. And here's what you need to know about Gamble Rogers if you've never heard him. Gamble Rogers never employed simple, single-syllabic morphemes when a multisyllabic idiom, collocation, or neologism could be substituted, nor did he bother with punctuation beyond the comma, the colon, the semicolon, the ellipse, and the long pause, rarely using an uppercase word unless it was a proper noun, and he luxuriated in long-lasting alliterations illustrating hysterical, hyperbolic histrionics of hippies, hobos, hot rods, hoodlums, harems, hairdos, hotshots, and honey dippers, and humans of all hue, height, humor, and hierarchy. Mark Twain counseled never use a $5 word when a 50-cent word will do, and for Gamble, a 50-cent word never did do. Current pelvic associate being possibly my favorite Gamble vernacularism, the meaning of which I will allow you to parse out at your leisure. So, there I was, driving a Camry through the mountains of Utah after a record snowfall. The roads were clear, but there were 8-foot snowbanks pushed to both sides of the road. The land was an ocean of snow with nary a mar, save the occasional moose track or a snowmobile tread where some winter redneck had ascended the snow dunes at high speed to prove that a man with a motor can go where God intended only our four-footed friends and motorized morons to maneuver. Now, when you're listening to a Gamble Rogers CD, it's hard not to fall into a style. I know the snowfields were nearly 4 foot deep because of the superfluous snow fence. No, I know the snow in the fields was at least 4 foot deep, because superfluous fence posts stuck a scant 4 inches above the top of the snow. I could not think of how many millions and billions of symmetrical, hexagonal, crystalline flakes with their delicate dendrites had fallen on the fields, strewn across the strawberry wilderness to produce this picturesque panorama. I was gliding through villages where the only businesses open were the holy trifecta of gas stations, gun shops, and greasy spoons, each little burg protected by a white ward dedicated to the service of the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. I was passing signs that warned of elk crossing, deer crossing, cattle crossing, and signs that read, "No parking November 1st through March 31st. I was pondering why one wasn't permitted to park on the parameters of this particular roadway when I crested a rise, only to behold a 3-headed behemoth, the likes of which I, nor Gamble, nor any of the geniuses that I work with could have created. There, ahead of me, billowing black smoke into the otherwise pure white landscape, was as follows: a Caterpillar bulldozer with 6-foot treads, crashing along the top of the 8-foot snowbanks plowed to the side of the road. This bulldozer seeming to want to slide over into the snow abyss. Now, this bulldozer was chained to a John Deere road grader with its front wheels put laterally to Highway 40, and chained to the road grader was the tractor part of a tractor trailer, and the three were moving along at a pretty good clip. I was utterly unsure of what was happening. The logical explanation, I suppose, was that the bulldozer was trying to flatten out and clear the snowbanks, the road grader was trying to keep the bulldozer from sliding down into the ravine, and the truck was there trying to keep the road mover and the bulldozer moving forward. Bulldozer and the road grader. The truck was trying to keep the road grader and the bulldozer moving forward. But another, so much more tantalizing thought was that the bulldozer was a scorned lover who had traveled across the tundra and lassoed his beloved road grader and was trying to wrest her or him away from the handsome truck, be it a pretty Peterbilt, a magnificent Mack, or a voluptuous Volvo, I could not tell, who had stolen his or her heart, and the truck was determined to keep his new love, and the straining chains that bound the three represented not only the metaphorical connections implicit in relationships, but also the very real strings that attract, propel, and repel. For a second, I thought the tractor and the truck would rip the road grader apart. Such was the force of the physics and the conflict laid bare on the dunes before me. I couldn't help it. I couldn't just drive on without knowing what was transpiring. How would it be resolved? Who would win? My heart would never quell, lest I know the outcome of this mechanical melodrama, possibly even murder, unfolding in Utah's Wabash wilderness. I pulled to the side of the road just past the summit of the next hill, jumped out of the car, stood in the road with tears in my eyes, and beheld the tremendous 30-ton, three-headed testament to heavy equipment roll over the hill with fire and fury. Surely nothing could stop this configuration of construction creatures. Oh, the humanity! Oh, the machinery! And on they came, unable to stop, unable to slow. The Camry I'd rented never stood a chance. While its 4 hubcaps danced free in the middle of Route 40, I stood above the crushed car and smiled. It now looked exactly like the diagram on the damage report. No parking, November 1st through March 31st.